Hey, it's the Empire, Boxing Empire, back to boxing. Now, man, wild stuff, man. My boy Deontay Wilder talks about how he's going through surgery with his left bicep, and how as soon as this whole COVID-19 thing, calms down a little bit, that he's gonna visit Big George Country Foreman to talk about how to develop more power. How to develop more power, and to talk about how to stop Tyson Fury. Now, man, yeah, Deontay Wilder, man, the guy is a dangerous guy. Boxing, usually they talk about, the basics of boxing, the foundations of boxing. It's about hit, not get hit. It's ruled by the Alis and the Sugar Ray Leonard, the people who can box. The Floyd Mayweathers. Most of the people in boxing are pure boxers. Even like Ray Robinson was a boxer, right? It's rare, it's actually unheard of to see a era ruled by a power puncher. It's like impossible. You never seen it before. And Deontay Wilder, man, he's trying to change that, man. He's trying to change it. The guy does not care about the fundamentals. The guy just cares about more power. And you know who's gonna help him? George Foreman, man, the god of power. George Foreman. He's gonna help the guy hit even harder. He's gonna help him set up his power shots even better, and he's just gonna make him extremely just the best power puncher he can be. It's wild that a power seeking, hungry fighter like a Deontay Wilder he didn't seek out a boxer like Lennox Lewis who beat Mike Tyson. No. He didn't do that. He didn't seek out a boxer. He seeked out another power puncher for more power. This guy, this guy he doesn't learn, man. It's all about power for this guy, who makes him dangerous because he's trying to change the rules, man. He's trying to redefine what you think about boxing. Because boxing, in most people's eyes, they think about, oh, you gotta hit, not get hit. You gotta move around. You gotta be elusive. And Deontay Wilder does not think that way, man. And neither does George Foreman. George Foreman is not trying to make him box more. He's trying to make him hit harder. Now, man, I'm going to give some quotes for you guys. I'm going to tell you exactly what Deontay Wilder said, man. He says, he was telling me how he wanted to show me methods of strengthening certain parts of my body and stuff like that, Wilder said. But he definitely dropped a couple of gems down for me. It was a good speak. I think I'm going to, once everything clears or whatever, I'm going to go out and see George, see him face to face, spend some time with him, and intake some of the good old knowledge he has up there. There you guys have my boy Deontay Wilder, man. The guy is dangerous, man. The guy's dangerous. A lot of people seek certain things in life, man. Deontay Wilder seeks power, and that's what he cares about. He don't care about no boxing. You don't care about taking notes from Lennox Lewis, who beat one of the most feared power punchers in history, Mike Tyson. He's like, nah, who's the strongest fighter in history? That's George Foreman, man, in my opinion, just because when he lost to Ali, he came back like 20 years later to regain that title. Which is insane. So that being said, it was almost baked into who he is as a fighter. George Foreman, what is George Foreman without his power? Not the same fighter. George Foreman in his prime, he was walking through people. He was walking through people like Joe Frazier. He was walking through all the top guys, man. They weren't close fights. He was just walking through the guys, right? And Ali was really the only guy who really challenged him. So that being said, man, even when he got older, he had really tough fights, man. Really tough fights, and he looked good in those fights, man. He didn't really get washed at anything. The guy was still there, even in his old age. It shows you the kind of fighter he is after taking a 20-year hiatus. Crazy stuff, man. So there you go, man. Deontay Wilder, man, changing the game of boxing. Not worried about boxing. He's just worried about getting more power. And the god of power, the all-time great, George Foreman is gonna help him with it. I've been talking about this for a while now. How George Foreman is gonna make him hit harder. He's gonna develop certain parts of his body. Maybe he's gonna chop wood. Who knows what he's gonna do? I think he's gonna strengthen his legs. George Foreman is like, hey man, these are things you need to do to get more power, which is a really big deal because I believe there's a lot of training methods in boxing that have been lost because these older fighters or these previous fighters who were great fighters never really passed the knowledge down. And I even think the same way with trainers, man. There's some trainers who are so talented who never really had an apprentice who is just lost. You know what I mean? It's just lost history because they never passed that shit on, you know? So, man, that being said, man, we're going to see how this whole thing unfolds, man. I'm really excited to see what Deontay Wilder works on. Of course, it's going to be legendary. Of course, will it work? Obviously, it worked. He's talking to a GOAT, fought Ali himself. Took Ali through the trenches, and I thought he was winning that fight. If you watch Ali fight, man, you know Ali was getting worked until he knocked him out. You know what I mean? George Foreman basically punched himself out. When George Foreman was 100%, Ali was 100%. That fight wasn't a close fight. It was George Foreman imposing himself on Ali, and Ali just sitting in ropes taking the punishment. The only reason why Ali won that fight is because it was a rope-a-dope. He basically just sat in the ropes and put a high guard up and took the punishment because he couldn't compete with him at the high level. That boxing stuff works when you're tired. You know, when George Foreman was 100%, he was an athlete. He was a monster. He had instinct. He could just dodge punches instinctively. The guy was athletic, and people don't realize it because he was known for his power, but he was actually extremely athletic as well. So, man, that being said, man, we're going to see how this whole thing unfolds with Deontay Wilder and Big George Country Foreman, the god of power, man. The god of power. Teaching this guy more power. Wow stuff, man. I'm excited. Let me know how you guys feel about it, though. Like, comment, subscribe. It's The Empire. Geobasket Empire. Peace.